Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. Is It Legal focuses on the legal issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices in Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
Tom, every now and then, we spend a lot of time talking about what to do, and people say, well, that's all well and good, but, we did other stuff and it worked out. And so once in a while, we like to talk a little bit anecdotally about some of the disasters that people have created for themselves by ignoring quality advice and following the advice of neighbors, friends, and relatives.
Yeah, I think we both agree that some of the worst ones and the worst outcomes involve real estate and adding people's names or giving away real estate.
So let's deal with this, and everybody knows you don't need no dang lawyer. Just put the kids' names on the house. It'll save inheritance tax, it'll save probate expenses, it'll protect the house from the nursing home. It is just going to be perfect.
Well, yeah, that sounds great, but I think we both have a slew of examples where it didn't work out. And then guess what? You avoided the inheritance tax, but now you're paying capital gains taxes, which can be 3 and 4 times as much.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. If the parent dies owning the house and the children inherit the house, the entire capital gains tax goes away, no matter how much it is, no matter how long they've owned the house. None of these one-time sales rules or anything else. It all goes away. Zip, nada, none. Exactly. But if they've given the house to the kids and the kids have not occupied it as their residence, then what happens?
Well, then they've got a capital gains tax problem. So not only do you have to figure out what their folks paid for it back in 1962 or whenever, but then they've got to figure out how that's going to impact each of the respective owners, and it's just a mess. So it can be much, much higher than a 4.5% inheritance tax in Pennsylvania.
Well, of course, the inheritance tax in Maryland between parents and children is 0. So you don't even have to figure it out. It's guaranteed the capital gains tax rate will be in excess of the inheritance tax.
Well, exactly, and it's really basic math, because we both have figured out, only about 25% of the folks out there are going to end up in a nursing home, but 100% of us are going to pass. So you got to play the odds a little bit, not do dumb things which are going to generate a tax no matter what.
And then one of the problems is that with a husband and wife, the house is protected anyway. You don't have to do anything. So when you start putting kids' names on the house, you now have periods of ineligibility for benefits. You now subject the children to having a capital gains tax on the disposition of the property, and you've now deprived yourself of a resource that you might need to pay for your own care.
Yeah, but that's not the end of it, because then it gets really exciting once one of the kids dies, divorces, becomes disabled, goes bankrupt, or whatever else goes wrong in their lives.
A jointly held house between a husband and wife is an exempt resource from creditors. But if a child's name is on that joint house, their interest is available to their creditors or to their divorce, and that house could have a forced sale as a result of something bad happening to the child.
Exactly, and we're all getting older, and so parents who might be in their 90s might be fine and healthy, but they might have 70-year-old children who may be becoming disabled, looking at nursing homes, or their spouses. And now all of a sudden that asset, which was not exposed for the parents, is exposed for the kids.
And so oftentimes people are just too focused on the present without any concept that it's a guarantee that the circumstances are going to change as time moves on. And we cannot predict what those changes are going to be, but we can tell you that if you end up with the kid getting the house with a low basis, there will be a capital gains tax.
Exactly, and it's unnecessary tax, which was the whole point of trying to do the thing apparently, but it ends up hurting people.
And oftentimes people, when they lose control of their resources, they lose control of the ability to pay for the services that they might need in the future, and we cannot predict what those services might be.
Exactly, and that's probably the most important reason not to do anything radical like that.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance orders to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When a loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Double Safe Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to a special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Matthew Hurley from Matt Hurley Auctions. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thanks, Mike.
You know, Matt, as we talk on our program all the time about the fact that people are just overwhelmed when they have to look at breaking down a house.
They are. It's extremely overwhelming. Where to start, what to throw, what to keep. They just don't know where to begin.
As I tell them, your organization will help them identify 4 piles: the trash pile, the personal pile, the goodwill pile, and then the stuff we need to sell.
Yes. Yeah, we'll sort it out. What do we need to keep? What can we donate? What does the family want? There's those things that are very important to them. They've been in the family a long time. What do they want to keep?
And of course, you're not telling them what to do. You just help them be informed in this
We're helping
decision.
them sort.
And of course, there's a lot of stuff that people have a lot of trouble with, and they think that, and there's some troubling assets, frankly, some of these collections and so forth. And even if you choose not to do it yourself, you know where to get information to make sure they get fair value.
That's right. I was in a seminar this past week, and they showed a flower pot that sold for $300 at a local auction. It sold for $60,000 at a specialty auction. And so just finding the right people and where to send it is so important.
All right, and of course, rule number 1 is
don't throw anything away.
Everybody thinks they understand value. They
That's
don't.
right.
And of course, my mother was notorious. Anything I hadn't played with in a week, she threw away, which means probably a bunch of stuff that had value went in the trash.
Sounds like my wife. If I don't use it, it's got to go.
All right, well, we have some stuff. We always have fun here, so I'm going to pull up this first one here. Very substantial looking cement mixer truck.
You know, Mike, I focused on the 60s and 70s this week because people don't think of those as antiques or collectibles. And right now they're really valuable. This is just a cement truck from the late 60s, early 70s, something I would have played with as a child. Not extremely viable, but $40, $50, $60, $70.
Dirty, clearly used.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
But all right, well, let's take the snorkel truck on the other side.
Same thing. These are both Tonka, well-known name, but things that people say, oh, that's not old. That was mine when I was a kid. But now people that are in their 40s are collecting, and they want the things they remember as a child. They don't want what grandma had as a child or grandpa had as a child. They want what they had as a child. So now there's things that are from the 60s and 70s are really have a lot of demand.
And of course, this thing is obviously well used. It's got some rust and everything else, but don't paint it.
This will, don't paint it. Don't paint it, don't clean it.
Right.
This will find its way to someone's collection. It'll sit on a shelf and be admired and enjoyed. And so it won't be played with, but it's perfect just the way it is.
I know you're auctioning this one right now, but what would you estimate it would go for?
It'll probably go $40 to $50.
Well, you start 40 here, 50 there. The next thing
20
you know,
times, you have
that's
$1,000.
some serious money here. All right. Now, we have an oddball collection here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the one behind it for just a moment.
Sure. And I brought these, Mike, because this is truly a treasure. You just don't find these. These are from the 60s, late 60s. They started in about 66 up through about 75. I played with these as a kid. I was born in 72. And these are the Johnny West series from Mark's Toy Company.
Okay.
Now, what makes these valuable is three things. Condition. They're not played with, or very little. They have the original boxes, but most even have the instruction manual and every piece that came with him.
Like
His
the
gun,
chaps,
his chaps, his vest, his belt. It's all there. And so this you just do not find. I looked on eBay to try to find some of these, and you can find the belt or the chaps or the man, but you don't find a complete set.
So I know that this one is being auctioned currently, and we know it's going to go well past $100.
Yeah,
Lord
it's
only
already
knows.
near $100, and it still has 12 hours to go on our site.
All right, and then we have that piece in front of it, which is related to
You
it.
know, this doesn't look like much, but it's one of my favorite because this is the Rocky Mountain Gear Chest, and it's made out of cardboard. Cardboard does not last.
Right.
But this one's like it was never played with. It's like the day it came home from the store. It has the original manual, and it has all the pieces. Every piece, even the bugle, is in here. And so these are items that weren't
it has
stored.
canteen, everything.
They weren't stored in the attic. They weren't stored in the basement. Attics are hot. Basements are mildewed. And so this was stored and protected, and you just don't find them.
All right, so you find that toy that the grandchild never played with, never liked it. It's still in the box. It might actually improve its value.
Oh, you know, the box probably doubles the value, Mike. It's that important.
All right, so we have one here.
Yeah, and these are all just very similar. Same series, same time frame. And right now on our site, each of these are between $80 and $90. And most people bid the last 20 minutes. So I'm excited to see what they do.
So this is Chief Cherokee,
Chief Cherokee.
The movable Indian. And we can see here that he is also...
He has everything, even the original plastic that the toys would have been in. So it doesn't get any more complete than this, Mike. This is as good as it gets when it comes to this type of toy.
All right, well, let's go down to the cowboy in blue.
Now, Zeb Zachary. Zeb, as you can see here, everything. And the condition of the box does make a difference. This one shows a little bit of wear, but still it's a complete box. Everything's there. This one sold for $2.99 at the G.C. Murphy Company, probably in about $68, $69. It's now well over $100.
And this last one we have down here.
Yeah, finally, this is Sheriff Garrett. And again, Sheriff Garrett has everything. And these chaps, and it's a soft rubber or plastic that in an attic would have just fell apart. It would have melted. And so these were preserved. He even has his equipment manual. It's all there. And so these are just a treat for me to be able to sell. A lot of fun.
Matt, as always, thanks for taking time
Thanks.
to appear on
Good
this
to
show.
be here.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquility at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquility, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquility at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Dad, there's the big one. There's the big one. Just wait.
There's the monster.
Just one more bid on HurleyAuctions.com.
I got it.
If you haven't visited HurleyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurleyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Rod MacRae, Public Information Officer of Washington County Health Department. Welcome to the show, Rod.
Thank you very much.
Now, as our viewers watch this, every county in our viewing area has a health department, and their missions are oftentimes very similar. You know, raising awareness, making sure that the treatment plans and planning is being done to deal with health issues.
That's correct. It's remarkably similar. You can look across the entire country, which I do sometimes. and visit the websites of local health departments, and they all basically offer the same set of programs.
And it's an evolving set of programs, you know. So we look back 20 years ago when you and I would be talking, or people from the health department then, you were the driving force, for instance, for getting people inoculated for the flu each year. And yet today, as that delivery model has evolved, the health department, while it's still engaged in it, is not the driving force any longer.
No, and it makes us happy. It's been a success, I think, for us. And that's true not only of flu, but of other immunizations as well.
So, you know, we looked 10 years ago, we would sit here, we would ask you what your immunization schedule was as you went around the county and what days it was available to receive in the health department. But as public awareness rose, it became available in supermarkets, pharmacies, and so forth. And so it allows you to move on to the next health issue because that issue was being addressed by other delivery means.
Exactly so, and it's never been our role to compete with other providers. Our role has been to provide those services that cannot be provided elsewhere.
Or that there's a lack of awareness of the need for that. But as that awareness is addressed, which it was here, then it became, you know, you didn't have to be as involved with it as you previously were. But one of the interesting things is public information continues to be the issue. We've had a flu season this year that would seemingly indicate that the flu wasn't as big a problem as it's been in other years. Well, it probably means the vaccine worked better than it worked in other years, but also more people getting flu shots, so it didn't really get traction.
Certainly, and it becomes, unfortunately, a lot of times for some people, sort of a background noise that they don't really think about, even though it is actually continuing in a normal course for the season.
So once again, you know, the people, both the Center for Disease Control and the local health departments, are very focused on trying to minimize its impact. But as soon as you went to sleep at the wheel, you could have a heck of a problem.
Oh, there's no question about it. And people should never forget with the flu especially, it still is responsible for about 20,000 deaths a year nationwide, which is nothing to sneer at, but people get used to it.
You know, it's really something you shouldn't get used to, but it requires constant vigilance because the disease is constantly mutating. The vaccine from last year have minimal or no particular benefit for this year, which means you have to do it again.
Exactly so, exactly. And you know, even with vaccinations, every once in a while there will be a strain circulating that is not contained within the vaccination. But if you should get it, you will have minimal symptoms that result because you have some protection from the vaccination that you got.
And then every once again you get a wild card, you know, like we had the H1N, didn't come through the classic, evolution through Middle Asia, through North America, but rather came up from the South.
It's true. That was very unique. That was 2009, and
slammed together vaccines, started getting them out, and cut it off a little bit.
Yeah, we did. I hate to say this, but for us in public health, it was not fun, but kind of invigorating. You know, it gave us a focus, and it actually went rather well.
Well, we have another issue we see in the media an awful lot right now, and it's not yet resolved, but that's Zika.
Yes, Zika. Last year was our first Zika season in this country, and you may
been confined to South America area originally, but now it's evolved up. You know, air travel today and so forth.
Right, especially Puerto Rico, which is a United States territory. South Florida, some in Texas, it's come up, and we've been working on it. And as always, when we get an emergency disease like that, emerging disease, our first work is to do surveillance, define the scope of it, attempt to limit it. If that fails, which for example it did with West Nile virus, if you may remember that came through, then we work on containment and addressing the issues in a local way with medical protocols.
And while Zika doesn't tend to have the huge mortality risk, it does have some other risk factors, and so you work with families that have been exposed to try to minimize those risks.
Certainly. Obviously, I think the ones people are most familiar with are birth defects. There are also a number of adverse effects for other people other than infants that are still being defined because it's relatively new to us. We don't know as much about it as we do some other things.
And of course, in the end, the CDC is trying to develop a vaccine, which will hopefully begin to cut that off as well.
Yes, yes. And that usually takes, at least 2 or 3 years. You know, by the time you define the organism, develop the vaccine, do the trials, and then do the production and distribution. So it's not something you can gear up in a year.
Rod, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on our program.
As always, thank you.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
The Community Foundation has helped create signs of community strength for more than 30 years. Scholarships assist with post-secondary education, and grants support programs throughout Frederick County. Making a big impact. Because of generous donors like you. Add your sign of community strength by creating a fund that supports the causes you care about.
Albright, Crumbacher, Mal and Idtel are a full-service firm that provides elder care services including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me is Doug Fiery from Douglas Fiery Funeral Homes. Welcome to the show, Doug.
Thanks, Mike.
You know, Doug, there's this perception that everything on the planet, you can get it off the internet, all the information there is correct, and that, you know, if you got it on the internet, it must be true.
We've seen that commercial many times, haven't we? You know, that's true. A lot of times with things like that, you know, people purchasing sometimes some funeral merchandise and things, you do have to be aware of where that's coming from and the quality of the material that you're getting.
You know, and the internet doesn't have any filters on it, so, you know, somebody could post up, you know, some, you know, pretty outrageous stuff. We've seen that in the recent election. You know?
That's true.
And people read the stuff and think it's true because it's on the internet, and, you know, I've just never seen a more unrestricted environment to say whatever the heck you want to say.
That's true. You know, and it's like everything else, you know, it looks good sometimes on pictures, but are you really knowing what you're getting? Where is it coming from? You know, when it comes shipped in, who's responsible? You know, if it comes in, all of a sudden it's damaged or it's not exactly what you want, what are the repercussions from that sort of thing?
So let's talk about some common misconceptions and some of the traps that people step into. First of all, there's this perception that if you're dealing with a cemetery, you have to use their funeral home.
Right. No, that's true. A lot of people think that it might be a convenience sometimes in that sense, but no, you're free to use whatever funeral home that you'd like to, and, you know, and we go to all kinds of different cemeteries all over the country actually. So there are great opportunities to use any number of funeral homes in the area.
And the second piece of this is that routinely you're cooperating with funeral homes perhaps in another area because the fact the person wants some sort of a portion of the service here, you know, might want a burial or interment somewhere else, may want to have a second service there, and you're not there to try to jam them into a particular model. Just tell us what you need, we'll figure out how to do it for you.
That's exactly right. You know, and that's really what it is. We're there to help them facilitate what it is that they want to accomplish. And we do a lot of that. We especially up and down the East Coast of the United States, we're moving people a lot of times. People move to Florida, have built some relationships down there. They end up having services in Florida and then coming back home to their hometown and having services here. And we do move up and down the coast. In fact, not very soon here, I'll be going to New York for a burial. So we're definitely helping them do whatever it is they want to do.
And then, of course, you have that unfortunate situation where somebody is not living in Florida, but they might spend 2 or 3 months down there in the wintertime, and they pass down there. But in fact, you know, they want that service up here. This is really where their orientation is. And most of the time, families are just clueless on how to manage that.
Right. And I think that's a really good point because so many people get so involved in really what it takes is just a phone call to us or to a funeral home, and they'll take care of everything. They'll coordinate with the funeral home down in Florida, for example, take care of all those things that you don't have to worry with.
Range transportation.
Everything. Everything from top to bottom.
You know, and it's not just write me a check. It's, you know, the services that you're providing are, you know, itemized. You tell them this is this, this is this, this is what we're doing. So, you know, just because you make that phone call doesn't mean it has to be a big check.
No, it's exactly right. There's every case is different, every family's different, every want that they have are different with every family, and we have to sit down and really talk with them and get a little feel for where they are because it's not cookie cutter. Everybody's different, and we want to meet those needs. So.
And then we have the problem with the internet. Easy to take a pretty picture, easy to take a pretty picture from all sides, but it doesn't reflect the quality of the construction or what's actually going on. And so, there's this perception if I buy it on the internet, I'm getting comparable quality for a less price.
Right, and that's really not true, because you're really not having that opportunity to look at that piece of merchandise and to see how it's made and what it's, where it's made. All the merchandise that we have is made here in the United States, and I think that's important. The quality of what goes into it is hugely different than what sometimes you're getting on the internet.
Plus, you have a relationship with the manufacturer. If there's something wrong with that thing, they got to fix it, and they got to fix it now.
Right, and they are super with that in this area. If I have a problem or anything, I can call the people, our distributors, and they're actually right up there the very next day. So that's really important.
Whereas you buy that thing on the internet, yes, you'll take the delivery for it there, but you can't be responsible for the quality of it because you weren't involved with the decision on what was being bought.
That's exactly right. And then, if you already have a funeral planned and it's going to happen in the next 3 to 4 days, and you're worried about how do we get this thing shipped back, how do we make it right, it becomes a real headache.
And so the point is your service business. You want to be fair with your customers. You want to sit down and work through, what do they need, what do they desire, what did the person who passed desire, and try to make sure that you deliver that to the family.
Right, and that's our ultimate goal, is to make sure that we take care of them. We're a business that does merchandise and things, but we're a service-oriented company, and I think that's the number one thing to remember.
I think the number one thing always too is that it's always better if the people plan their own so that everybody knows what's going on, but they don't have to write a check to come see you.
I just had a discussion with a family yesterday about that. They're thinking the only way they could do that was to write a check, and really to make the pre-arrangements without pre-funding it is 98% of it's done. The hard work is done when you do that, and you can come back and deal with that at a later time if you want to, but you can still get all that other stuff done.
Doug, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just this simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.